PGA champion.
Touchdown, Georgia. North Carolina. They're not going to be denied this time.
It's divisional playoff Sunday in the NFL, and in a little more than an hour from now, a pumped-up crowd of more than 68,000 will be packed in the Heinz Field, where the South Division champion Jacksonville Jaguars will face the North Division champs, the Pittsburgh Steelers, in an AFC Divisional playoff showdown. It will be frigid in the Steel City with game-time temperatures in the teens under mostly sunny skies.
Well, there's Ben Roethlisberger in the tunnel warming up, and he's got to be ready today. I think he's going against the best secondary in the NFL in the Jacksonville Jaguars.
There's a #1 receiver. There's Antonio Brown. He's missed the last 2 regular season games with a left calf injury. He's going to play today. Remember last time against Jacksonville? 10 catches, 157 yards.
And there is Blake. I'm not here by mistake. Bortles. History says when he doesn't turn the ball over, they are 9-0. You take care of the ball, you take care of the Steelers.
Hey, Mike Mitchell, you want a piece of this? This is Leonard Fournette, part of the intensity of the Jaguars offense, 181 yards last time against the Steeler defense. Woo!
Stand by to move right. Ready, one? Take one. Stand by to bring it back. Take one.
Well, record on 40.
3, 2, 1.
And hello, everyone. I'm James Brown, and welcome to a special playoff edition of the NFL Today, presented by Southwest Airlines. Well, in last night's AFC Divisional playoff action, Tom Brady and the Patriots took their frustrations out on the Titans, while over in the NFC, Nick Foles and the Eagles held on to defeat the Falcons. Both of the top seeds advanced to next Sunday's conference championship games, and the Eagles will await the winner of today's NFC showdown as the Vikings D aims to shut down Drew Brees and the Saints' impressive run game in Minnesota. And in the Steel City, Big Ben and company will try to avenge their Week 5 30-9 spanking to Jacksonville that featured an impressive 2-touchdown performance by Jags rookie running back Leonard Fournette.
First time we played these guys, they ran the ball extremely effectively.
Fournette dives into the end zone for the touchdown. Leonard Fournette just went 90 yards.
This is one of the best defenses I've ever played against.
So that's picked off again. Another pick six. And the career high 5 interceptions thrown by Roethlisberger.
Right now you're probably wondering what's happening on your television screen.
There's the icing on the cake as they lay it to the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Maybe they don't have it anymore.
Ben Roethlisberger said he wants Jacksonville again.
I'd love to prove that 5 receptions wasn't me in that game.
Man, I hope 7 ready for us. We're going to give him his rematch that he wants. We're going to try this one more time. Wake up!
And we are looking forward to the big rematch as we welcome you here inside Studio 43. I'm joined at the desk. Now, these guys really do know football, but Coach wants to see how much. That would include Phil Simms, Coach Bill Cowher, Nate Burleson, and Boomer Esiason. Le'Veon Bell feeling confident about today's game.
Take a look at this today, guys. Last night he tweeted this out. I love round 2s. We'll have 2 round 2s in back-to-back weeks. Basically what he's saying is that we're going to beat the Jaguars today, and we're going to see the New England Patriots next week. They are obsessed with the New England Patriots. They are touching the money. And if you love football, folks, you have come to the right place, because this is going to be downright nasty. These two teams hate each other. And as Coach likes to say, oh, you got to impose your will on you. Well, both of these teams are going to be trying to impose their will on each other, much like Phil and I do every week right here.
Hey, boom, you get me excited, baby.
I'm ready to roll, baby.
Guess what, fellas? The best receiver in football, he's back on the field. Antonio Brown. Business is booming. What can Brown do for you? He can do everything. The mark of a great receiver is not just what he does out there on the field, but the cultivation of young talent. Juju Smith-Schuster, he has came along great this year. This young fella is not only just a compliment piece, but he can take over games. So you get Antonio Brown back on the field. You got Juju doing his thing. Martavis Bryant. We're going to talk about Le'Veon and Big Ben, of course, but it's those pieces in the passing game that makes this team so special.
Oh, I love that you talk about the skill positions, but my friend, this game will be decided in the trenches, particularly the defensive side of the ball. When you look at these two defenses, what do they do best? They rush the quarterback. 1 and 2 in sacks. There is Cam Hayward right now. We talked about it. We're going to talk with him later in the show, but he is the leader of that defense on that front that led the league in sacks. But when you talk about the one weaknesses that both these teams have, that would be defending the run. 26 26 for Jacksonville, 27 for Pittsburgh. Remember in week 5, Leonard Fournette, 181 yards. So look for a big day and patience from Pittsburgh's side with Le'Veon Bell rushing the football.
You know, Coach, people really don't care. They care about the quarterbacks. That's what they want to hear about. That's the way I feel.
You should just ask a quarterback.
That's right, ask a quarterback. But, you know, what do they want today? They don't want either quarterback. The teams don't want their quarterback to throw too much. Ben Roethlisberger, why don't you want him to throw too much? Because you're going against a defense that can sack the quarterback and a secondary that can intercept passes. And Blake Bortles, we know what he's about. He's big and he can run QB draws, you know, have some op zone reads, which he's good at. And every chance you get, Blake, scramble with the football to run or get some windows to throw.
So a lot like you, throw the ball 20 to 25 times a game, minimize the effectiveness of your quarterback.
Right, and get some rings.
You know what? We've got an impressive quarterback to go to. I want to find out if he thinks like you guys. And for more on this matchup, we welcome in the Hall of Famer. That will be Dan Fouts, who is in Pittsburgh to call the game. Hey, Dan, you already know it. The Steelers, AB, Antonio Brown, back from a leg injury. Will he be ready to go today?
Well, a couple of concerns before that. The frigid weather, JP, 16 degrees right now. The winds are calm. It's brilliant sunshine, but it is a big concern, the health of all-pro wide receiver Antonio Brown. He practiced on Wednesday. He practiced on Thursday. He pulled that calf muscle nearly a month ago, but he did not participate in practice on Friday with flu symptoms. He did go through the walkthrough yesterday. Head coach Mike Tomlin told us he is comfortable with starting and playing Brown as much as possible. And that sets up an intriguing man-to-man battle with all-pro corner Jalen Ramsey. Ramsey will shadow Brown today all over the field, and that's exactly what Ramsey wants. And when you combine Ramsey with the other corner, A.J. Boye, another Pro Bowler, you can see just how effective they were against Brown in Game 5 earlier this season.
Speaking of effective, Leonard Fournette was just that back in Week 5. Any special defensive plans with him in mind, Dan?
Well, they're going to have to tackle him, number one. He had 181 yards in that first game. But Fournette told us yesterday he's not concerned with the big runs today. It's important for the Jags to get those 2 and 3 yards on first and second down so they avoid the third and long, obvious passing situations for Blake Bortles. Remember, Pittsburgh, number 1 in sacking the quarterback, most of them from linebackers from that Blitzburg defense. 56 on the year. That led the league.
Hey, Dan, real quickly, any suggestions about dealing with these two quarterbacks here in the studio?
All I know is they are just brilliant today, as brilliant as the sunshine here.
I'm talking about JB.
Hey, Dan, thank you so much. We'll check back a little later in the show. All right, folks, a look at the AFC playoff bracket shows the Patriots. They cruised past the Titans last night and advancing to play in their, check this out, 7th consecutive AFC championship game that next Sunday against the winner of today's Jags-Steelers matchup. And what a surprise, of course. Tom Brady was terrific again.
Well, 35 of 53, 337 yards and 3 touchdowns. And I got a little comment for Bill Belichick. Do not make him Patriot of the Week this week. Okay? Just keep him on edge. Make him have a purpose to go out there and play and save it from 3 weeks from now in the Super Bowl. I got to tell you, he was awesome distributing the ball all over the place.
And that's right. Here's the distribution right here. I think the misconception is if you crowd the wide receivers at the line of scrimmage, then that offense of the Patriots, they won't get going. But what they do so well is creating space before the play even starts. We're talking formations, pre-snap alignments, and pre-snap movement. Aside from Rob Gronkowski, these guys are undersized, but they play bigger than their actual size.
All right, and certainly Coach and Phil know this all too well. And yesterday, the Eagles defeated the Falcons at home in their divisional round matchup. And the updated NFC playoff bracket now has the Eagles awaiting this afternoon's winner of the Saints-Vikings game. An impressive win for the Eagles, Coach.
Yeah, when you looked at it, it was an impressive just showing right there by their defense. They were suffocating it, held Atlanta to 10 points, shut them out in the second half, had 3 sacks on the day, harassed the quarterback all day, held him for 4 and 13 on third down. Jim Schwartz had that defense right here. You can see at the end of the game, playing well. Jalen Mills covering Julio Jones, and that became the game-winning play right there at the end of the game. And you're talking about a defense, again, that was so impressive in the second half of this game, Phil, and also Nick Foles. He had a very, very solid game.
Yeah, he did. Just look at that second half, what the Eagles defense did. You know, they are big and physical, and that wins in the NFL, and they're big and physical on both sides of the football. But in the second half, like you say, they imposed their will on the Atlanta offense. And Nick Foles, It was his fourth start, and you could see a difference in him in the second half. They finally got to the offense where he was comfortable, and I thought he threw the football very well, 12 of 15 in the second half.
Which I guess speaks well of what Frank Reich did with him, getting him ready to play comfortably as well, too. All right, folks, now for more playoff news and notes, we welcome in our NFL Today insider. That would be Jason Lockenfora, who has the latest on Le'Veon Bell's future in Pittsburgh.
Well, JB, the Steelers are not concerned with comments Bell made this week that he'd possibly retire and hit with the franchise tag again in 2018. They believe he was baited into those comments. And as I've been reporting for weeks, they do intend to tag Bell again in 2018. They have 14.2 million reasons why they think he'll be back in black and yellow. As for the Giants and the Cardinals, they're waiting to pounce on the man behind me, Pat Shurmur, offensive coordinator of the Vikings. Should he lose tonight, both teams covet him. And look, I continue to hear Matt Patricia very likely to be the next coach of the Lions. Josh McDaniels, very likely to be the next coach of the Colts. That leaves Shurmur as the last coveted coordinator standing. JB, I like the Giants' odds of getting him. Sources say Phil even approves of the move.
That's big.
Hey, how about Blake Bortles? Here's the million-dollar question, guys. What kind of performance are we going to get out of him today? He's going to have to complete passes on third down if they're going to want to win. Last time they played, he only threw one pass in the second half, and he still won.
Coming up on the NFL Today, Coach went down to visit some old friends in Pittsburgh and found out that Cam Hayward and company aren't that impressed with the self-proclaimed Saxonville D.
Lead the league in sacks, but yet there's a team down in Florida that call themselves Saxonville. Does that bother you a little bit?
They can have the name. We got the record.
Strong defense has been the key to the success of the remaining playoff teams, and it could be the deciding factor in who takes home the Lombardi Trophy in February.
How about this defense?
It's a future Hall of Famer versus one of the season's biggest surprises.
It's time right now to take the next step.
Drew Brees and Case Keenum face off for a spot in the NFC Championship game. Find out who the guys think will come out on top when the NFL Today returns. The NFL Today on CBS Sports is presented by Southwest Airlines. Low fares, no hidden fees. That's transparency.
Earlier today in Pittsburgh, Major Mark Nooch of the U.S. Special Forces had a chance to tour the field, meet with some players, and take in the sights and sounds prior to the AFC Divisional playoff game. Nooch, by the way, is being honored by the Steelers later today, recognizing his heroism and that of his Green Beret brothers in Afghanistan following 9/11. By the way, that is the subject of the upcoming Warner Brothers film, 12 Strong. And he's being accompanied by film producer Jerry Bruckheimer, as well as actor Chris Hemsworth, who portrays Nooch in the film. Today, he gets to enjoy the game in addition to being honored by the NFL. And the JAX defensive line will have their hands full trying to stop Ben Roethlisberger and the Steelers offense. Ben, of course, that pass rush affected him back in Week 5. He threw 5 picks. But this Jacksonville squad should be up to the task of trying to frustrate him, as they have left their mark all across the league, which has rightfully earned them a pretty cool nickname.
In this league, everybody knows if you got a great defense, you gotta have a great nickname, such as the Purple People Eaters,
the Orange Crush,
the Steel Curtain,
the Fearsome Foursome, the Doomsday Defense,
the No Name Defense,
the Monsters of the Midway,
the Big Blue Wrecking Crew, and the Legion of Boo! Classic intimidating monikers never to be forgotten. And this 2017 season has given us
Saxonville.
That's right, find it on the map. Saxonville, USA, a.k.a. Jacksonville, Florida. Population, the NFL's second-ranked defense. And man, can they sack. 10 sacks week 1. 6 weeks later, another 10. And I don't know who heads their Chamber of Commerce, because when Big Ben met the savvy citizens of Saxonville, he was picked off 5 times and could have got a summons for impersonating a quarterback. As a matter of fact, Saxonville boasts more takeaways than 30 other NFL teams, and have taxed their opponents with an NFL best 7 defensive touchdowns.
2 of those came from Big Ben.
And last week, good news in Saxonville.
They found themselves a sheriff.
Blake Bortles' fleet feet combined with his single solitary touchdown pass effectively eradicated the table-breaking mafia and its known associate Bill Cowher. But now the problem for this municipality of mayhem is how to stop a swarm of killer bees. Get your bug spray ready. This is gonna be good.
A good piece and, of course, a good read indeed. Hey, this Jags unit has been very good, to say the least, led by the big fellows up front, Calais Campbell, Yannick Ngakoue, Malik Jackson, and Dante Fowler Jr. All four have at least 8 sacks, and that's the most by a team since 2006. And for more on why their defense has been so impressive, over to Coach and Phil.
All right, Phil, I know I give you a chance to break down this defense. What makes them so special?
Well, I'm going to tell you, Bill, but I see Nate Burles address you today. You look sharp in that turtleneck. Well, let's get to the defense here. Here's what makes them special. You tell us about it. It's 2 safeties in the middle, 1 low and 1 high. Why is this so good?
Well, it helps them, number one, in the run game, Phil, and also for crossing routes. And you can see right here, he's able to read the quarterback, and that's how they make a lot of these big plays.
Yeah, and they got good pass rushers, confuse them, make the quarterback hold the football, and then it results in a sack. Now, the second one, when they get down near the goal line, they play what we call the shell defense. Explain it to us.
The shell defense right here, you can see the zone defense, but you have to have good rush up front. There's some smaller windows down here. They are one of the best red zone defenses in the National Football League.
And then just to mix it up a little more, we're going to blitz. Look at the timing. Calais Campbell on the outside creates a lane for Paul Posluszny to come up the middle to get the sack and make Ben Roethlisberger throw.
You know, and I love what you just did. You showed Todd Wash, the defensive coordinator, what he does right there is he brings a creative approach to the game with playmakers and an unpredictability, which makes it a very hard defense to go against if you're an offense.
Yeah, good coaches make great players. They got good players. They're doing a great job with it.
And let's talk about that offense that they're going to be going against this week, and that's going to be the Pittsburgh Steelers. And more on that, let's go to JB, Nate, and Boom.
All right, fellas, the Jags will be trying to slow down the Steelers' all-purpose back. That would be Le'Veon Bell. He finished second in scrimmage yards this year with nearly 130 per game, while also setting team records with almost 8,000 scrimmage yards. That in just his first 5 seasons. That's awesome.
JB, this young man can do it all in the passing game, also in between the tackles. We know that. But more importantly, though, it's his impact that he has on the offense. Just imagine if he gets going early in this game, the third and fourth quarter, just a simple play-action fake that causes that aggressive defense, the linebacker core, Telvin Smith, Barry Church, you got Boye and Ramsey and Tashawn Gibson, those guys to peek in the backfield and bite on that. Of course, we're going to keep talking about those 5 interceptions during the season, but you got to get Le'Veon Bell going in order for Big Ben to open up that passing game.
We got a million stats to show everybody, but the reality is for a quarterback, you have to be part salesman, part psychiatrist. And, you know, you take a look at Ben Roethlisberger, you see the first 5 games of the season. That 5th game was a game against the Jacksonville Jaguars. He threw 5 interceptions. Why? Is it because the Jacksonville defense is so good, or is it because Antonio Brown was throwing a tantrum the week before against the Ravens? So he forces the ball to Antonio Brown. 3 of those attempted completions ended up in interceptions, and there is Antonio Brown, and he'll be healthy, ready to go today. But I have to tell you, Ben Roethlisberger, if he just protects the football, he has a great running game behind him, much like Jared Goff had out in L.A. with Todd Gurley. You got to get these guys involved early and often. And for me, Le'Veon Bell's got to touch the ball at least 25 times a game if they're going to win this game today against this Jacksonville defense.
All right, take a look at the Steelers. Again, impressive as we head to break.
That's right. You got the Steel Curtain 2018 version. Might be the Teal Curtain on the other side. But those Steelers, you're at home. You got to beat the Jags. Get up on them early and put this game away.
I like that.
Ramon
Curtain. I like it.
On CBS, Thursday, January 25th, your favorite NFL players will showcase their best talents off the field, from singing and dancing to their pets doing dog tricks and a whole lot more. Watch and vote live to decide who really is the MVP, most valuable performer. A new special, CBS Thursday, January 25th. All right, time now to go inside the pregame HQ, delivered by Domino's. The cornerstones of the defense, Jags' first-team All-Pro, Calais Campbell, finished second in the league with 14.5 sacks, Phil, while his counterpart on the Steelers, Cameron Hayward, coach, also a first-team All-Pro, has notched a team-leading 12 sacks. So no question that it helps to have defensive players the caliber of Campbell and Hayward. All 6 remaining playoff teams, check this out, they're ranked among the top 10 in the league in points allowed this season. It underscores the saying, defense wins championships, so certainly defense will play an important role in determining a champion.
And you know what? That saying is correct. Defenses do win championships. Offense score points, and we're seeing that here. This year, the defenses we see now that are out there is the best I've seen in a long time.
Yeah.
And everybody always asks me, well, what's going on with it? And think about the offensive line versus the defensive line in the NFL. Athletic-wise, it's the biggest gap of anything on the football on the field. So you got that. Young guys come in the league, they got speed. And it used to be where you had these big defensive linemen like Sam Adams and Vince Wilfork, the big meat wagons inside. We don't see those much anymore. Why? Because it's all about the pass, getting guys that are more athletic to get to the quarterback.
The other thing you're seeing is depth. When I look at the defenses, I'm talking about the Philadelphia Eagles. You look what they did yesterday. You look at their front seven. You're talking about Fletcher Cox. You're talking about Brandon Graham. You're talking about the rotation that they have with 6 or 7 guys. They're fresh. They're #1 against the run. 31 takeaways this year. And when you're #1 against the run and you can make a team one-dimensional, and that one dimension being a case of having a plethora of pass rushers, that makes you special. Because, you're on the back end, Malcolm Jenkins, Mills, and then Kendricks and Braham, they can run. There's speed, there's depth, and they have playmakers. We talked about Jacksonville being the same way. But I tell you, I love the Philadelphia Eagles.
Yeah, speaking of special, how about the New England Patriots? We'll continue to talk about the GOAT, Belichick. We'll continue to talk about that offense, but we don't oftentimes talk about that defense. Through the first part of the season, we were saying, you know what, it's time for us to wash this defense away. They were giving up 32 points a game. Over the last 13 weeks, just 14 points. And we saw what happened yesterday. They were getting after the quarterback. Mariota, who is the athletic quarterback in the postseason, couldn't get anywhere. And they were rushing 3 and 4 guys, 8 sacks last night. We'll continue to compliment Tom Brady, but please give some respect to that New England Patriots defense.
Well, we do. And, one thing I will say is if you are a quarterback playing today or playing next week, you're going to get hit. You're going to get hit a lot because everybody places a premium on that. But I've been on the Minnesota Vikings now for about 6 weeks. I did their game Monday night against Chicago. That was Case Keenum was out there. He was struggling a little bit, but then he found his game. But all of a sudden, you could see the defense and the road warriors that they have become, whether it's be Everson Grissom or Anthony Barr or Harrison Smith or Xavier Rose, at every single level, they have great football players, and they can stop you on the road, and they're really difficult to score against at home. That's why I love them to host a Super Bowl, believe it or not. And think about this for 1 minute. They're #1 in overall defense, #1 in scoring defense, and #2 in running defense.
So let's illuminate just a little bit about what
a reflection of their Mike Zimmer.
Yes.
What they are.
Let's illuminate just a little. What are the Steelers doing effectively on D?
What they're doing effectively, they are stopping the run. And they've been that's been the one thing that's been the one thing against them, the Achilles heel. But they've been able to rush the quarterback. They've been able to get young guys coming up. They've simplified it. And in the secondary, Artie Burns has been very, very solid. You go out and get Joe Hayden. So they have kind of like solidified the outside part of what they're doing. And inside, they can get after the quarterback. And then offense gives them the lead. And now they can get after and
they're playing more dimensional. They can play more man-to-man coverage, which is really important. And, Nate was talking about New England. That's what separates them. New England's got a secondary that we don't pay attention to. They can match up. They're really deep. And they give teams trouble.
Just remember, today is the day that you should be playing man coverage because you're talking about one of the worst passing offenses in football in Jackson.
Yeah. Guys are loaded. I love it. You guys are fired up around playoff time.
Ready, JB?
Insight for sure. Hey, we are just about a half hour from the kickoff of the game, but let's check back in now in Pittsburgh with our guys. We'll be calling the game. That will be Ian Eagle and Dan Fouts.
All right, JP, the Pittsburgh Steelers lost only 3 games this season. One of them, of course, was to Jacksonville back in Week 5. The rematch today with a lot more on the line, a trip to the AFC Championship. Here in the broadcast booth, 17 degrees here in Pittsburgh. You look at Blake Bortles' background. He grew up in the Orlando area, went to Central Florida. He's played his 4 years in the NFL with Jacksonville. He's not accustomed to cold weather, but something he is accustomed to is criticism, Dan.
Well, and that's always been a big part of playing the quarterback position, but nobody has taken more abuse than Bortles. He's had an up-and-down season, really an up-and-down career, but he has led the Jags to the playoffs in a win last week against the Bills. He says all the noise doesn't bother him. I find that hard to believe, but his coaches and teammates praise his mental as well as his physical toughness. He told us yesterday that today he must be efficient avoid turnovers and negative plays, and run the ball if the opportunity presents itself.
You asked him, what gives you confidence in this game? He said, I have confidence in myself. I have confidence in this group. I have confidence in Nathaniel Hackett's game plan, the offensive coordinator for Jacksonville. You think back to that Week 5 game, so much has changed since then. But one thing that really stands out for Pittsburgh, the role of Juju Smith-Schuster, the rookie wide receiver, he is now a difference maker compared to where these two teams were at in Week 5.
Yeah, he'll never be named Rookie of the Year, but he has made a positive impression on his teammates, his coaches, and the opponents across the league. He is the youngest player in the NFL, and he's been a versatile receiver who's lined up in every possible receiver spot. He has the speed to stretch the field, the willingness to block, which is rarely seen in a rookie, and he has the size to work the middle of the field against the linebackers. And with Antonio Brown less than 100% today, Juju could be counted on to be the main target for Ben Roethlisberger.
Jacksonville and Pittsburgh countdown to kickoff continues here at Heinz Field. We'll get you back to the NFL today coming up. A Saints-Vikings preview right after this.
Not a lot of production out of that offense for the Saints.
Touchdown! The Vikings scorching these Saints. Look at Kamara, touchdown Saints. It's time right now to take the next step. Caught by Neal. Touchdown! Domination by the New Orleans Saints. Now let's go get our respect.
So with both teams looking to take the next step, if you will, let's go out live now to Minneapolis and welcome in Dana Jacobson, the versatile one, where Vikings fans are certainly excited about their team's chances at home today, Dana.
Yeah, that is an understatement, JB. This city is covered in purple, and this is a very simple theme. Bring it home. The Vikings trying to become the first team ever to play in a Super Bowl in their home stadium. Now, there's one Vikings fan in particular who gotten a lot of attention this week. It's 99-year-old Millie Wall. She's been a fan of this team since its inception in 1961 when she was 42 years old, but she's never been to an NFL playoff game, never been to one here at U.S. Bank Stadium. That all changes today thanks to an early birthday gift from the Vikings delivered with this letter to Millie.
Dear Miss Millie Wall, we would like to invite you, one of the biggest fans, to attend our playoff game on Sunday, January 14th. We know you will bring us luck as we enter into this playoff run and hope to bring it home. Thank you for the many years of supporting and cheering on our team and making us part of your life. You've got to be kidding.
Who signed it?
The Vikings. Minnesota Vikings. Really?
This came from the Vikings.
You're going to the game.
You're going to the game.
And Millie will be here with her granddaughter, Ashley. That's the one who posted that video, and it went viral, making her famous. Now, Ashley filled me in on all the details from today, including a brunch with about 30 family members, maybe going on right now, the red carpet treatment here at the stadium. What Millie wants to do most, though, the skull chant with the fans here and just cheer her team on. Now, Ashley said normally when she's watching the game, she has a foam brick to throw at the TV when things aren't going well. She's misplaced that because things have gone well this year, and a screwdriver with a splash of cranberry. Best part about social media, a lot of offers for Millie to buy the first round of screwdrivers out here. No word on whether or not she'll take fans up on it, JB, but with the purple theme going on, and I guess in that vein, we say cheers to Millie and her first NFL playoff game here with her Vikings.
Wow, Dana,
wow,
simply awesome. Yeah, I love those kind of supporting stories that go around these this time of the year as well.
Man, fans, you know, they love their football team, and there's a great fan there. You know, talking about this game today, when you talk about Minnesota, the Saints up there playing them, I like the Minnesota Vikings for a couple reasons. One, they got a shutdown corner in Xavier Rhodes, so he's going to go man-to-man coverage against Michael Thomas, who caught over 100 passes for the New Orleans Saints. And I love the fact that Minnesota got the week off to rest because their defensive line is a big key, of course, to their football team, but they're thin. They don't have backup guys there. So Everson Griffin, the speed rusher, he gets rested up. He can go. Linval Joseph, the run stopper inside that week off is going to help him. And, you know, I also think they're two big linebackers, Barr and Kendricks. they can cover Kamara coming out of the backfield.
Well, you got Kamara and Ingram, Phil, and I'll tell you what, that's going to be a big challenge and a big part of their success, because when you look at the New Orleans Saints, their offense is built around Mark Ingram and Alvin Kamara out of the backfield. You can see Jerron McKinnon and Latavius Murray for Minnesota. They've been very productive as well. But when you talk about Drew Brees, you're talking about this year completion percentage of 72%, which is an NFL single-season record. And you talk about what he has. You talk about taking away Michael Thomas. That is Ted Ginn Jr. I think could be the X factor. He's a speed guy. You're talking about a quarterback who's very accurate, maybe the most accurate in the National Football League. Again, you're talking about these two teams met week 1, 4.5 months ago.
Yeah.
So both these teams have evolved to different elements of where they are right now. A lot of confidence with New Orleans going up there. But you're right. It's a very stout defense they're going against. But I'll tell you, Drew Brees is red hot.
Aside from Drew Brees being a Hall of Famer and having those weapons around him, what makes him comfortable is that he has a defense on the other side that's been playing well. First couple weeks of the season, they get lit up by the Vikings and the Pats, and then they end up being in the top 10 on defense in the NFL. They got playmakers. Von Bell leads that team in tackles. Craig Robinson plays at a high level. Matt Teo's playing unbelievable. Lattimore, young talent out there shutting down wide receivers. I'm looking at this defense, and for what we saw over the last handful of years, I'm talking about historically worst defense in the league, they have self-corrected in a way that sometimes, oftentimes, even last week when Cam Newton was out there playing his best game of the season, that defense stepped up in big moments.
Well, I'll tell you what, they're going to have their hands full this week because they have a guy by the name of Case Keenum, and we always talk about opportunity on this show, and boy, I'll tell you what, this guy is sitting on a pile of opportunity, and he is making the most of it right now. Take a look at this, 11-3 this year, 67%, 21 touchdowns to 7 interceptions as a starter for the Minnesota Vikings. He's got a good group of wide receivers around him, a really good tight end in Kyle Rudolph. But really what has shown is that the light has gone on for him. And this guy might not even be the starting quarterback for the Minnesota Vikings next year. He's going to be a free agent. Maybe he goes with his offensive coordinator, Pat Shermer, who may get a job at Arizona or here in New York. You never know. But all I can tell you is that he has made the most of his opportunity. And if he continues to go and he does get the Minnesota Vikings into the Super Bowl, guess what? Cha-ching.
Hey,
Cha-ching.
Case is going to get a big case of cash. We know that.
Exactly right.
Hey, fellas, the light has been on for one Yannick Ngakoue, one of the leaders of the Saxonville defense. And, Phil, by the way, where did he go to school?
Boomer University. Oh, I mean, Maryland. Calais Campbell and Ngakoue, they've combined for 26.5 sacks this year. What a duo.
The NFL Today is sponsored by Cricket Wireless, something to smile about. Geico, 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance. And by Southwest Airlines, low fares, no hidden fees. That's transparency.
The Jaguars have their community smiling in more ways than one. In the midst of the playoff preparation this week, A.J. Bouye, Ben Koyak, and Patrick Omame spread some cheer while visiting with patients undergoing treatment at Wolfson's Children's Hospital. And the coaches are getting their teams ready for today's showdown. Doug Marrone is looking to make his first AFC Championship game appearance. They were shaking hands with Mike Tomlin. And, of course, Tomlin has led the Steelers squad to 3 AFC Championship games in 11 seasons as their head coach and aiming for number 4 today. But they'll need to have a much better performance than their Week 5 showing against the Jags when they produced some of their worst numbers all season, including scoring only 9 points with no offensive touchdowns and, of course, 5 turnovers in what was unquestionably their worst loss. And, Coach, you return back to your stomping grounds this week to talk with some of the key Steelers about the impact of that loss.
Yeah, JB, it was their low point of the season. I wanted to find out how they managed to turn it around.
2nd and 14 for Roethlisberger. And the end zone here, and intercepted by Tashawn Gibson. And the career-high 5 interceptions thrown by Roethlisberger.
What was your takeaway from that game?
They flat out beat me that day. You know, I take the blame for that loss, obviously, with 5 turnovers.
When you have a loss like that, you want to look at yourself first and see how you can address it. And I think Ben took it hard.
I'm not playing well enough. Not playing well enough. Maybe I don't have it anymore. After the game, you know, I know people made a big deal about the comments, and really it was just me kind of having fun. You know,
in the Ben's way of putting yourself, the onus on you, and that's your way of you've done that.
It's me saying, hey, I'm going to laugh this off in a fun way. And I went home and pulled up on my phone, looked at quarterbacks that have thrown 5 interceptions in a game. And there's some pretty good names on that list. So it made me feel a little bit better that, okay, I'm not alone in this bad day category.
From there on, Ben put it on his back, and you see Ben just going out and dominating.
Back is Ben with plenty of time. His pass is caught, and that's a touchdown for Juju Smith-Schuster. Touchdown, Antonio Brown.
Martavis Bryant with a catch. Touchdown, Steelers. Le'Veon Bell, little stutter step, then plows forward right up the middle and into the end zone for the touchdown.
Is this the best offense that you've played with since you've been here?
Arguably. You know, I never like to say one way or another. You know, I am having fun. The guys on the outside, the skill guys, they keep me young.
Do they ever pull you in for one of their celebration?
Little game of hide and seek. Count to 10 and come find me.
How come you've not been a part of that? I mean, are we going to see you celebrate with them?
They keep talking about trying to do it. You know, for me, I want to celebrate with my linemen, and I want to get off the field.
We've been trying to get Ben in the celebration. You know, like, we're going to force him into one, and we can't tell y'all what we're going to do. But
there's been some discussion.
Oh, yeah. We're going to force him into one.
If we can make it to the Super Bowl and we get one, I might do it.
There's an injured player down. It's Ryan Shazier, and he is hurting.
He's moving his upper body, but not moving his lower body at all.
When Shay went down, you know, you never seen guys like cry on the field. Like, you know, they hear him talking on the field like, you know, I can't move my legs and things like that. When you kind of hear that on the field, you know, it makes you feel a certain way.
They're now putting Shazier onto the cart.
I just remember seeing him in that moment, and I just wanted to be there for my brother.
The day he came back into the stadium for the New England game.
An amazing moment just a second ago, an explosion of love and outpour here for Ryan Shazier.
Was that special?
Absolutely. There was a few of us that knew he was coming. When they showed him up on the Jumbotron and you saw that Ryan Shazier smile, the whole place just erupted. It was awesome.
What's it meant like to have him around here this week, to see him over there on the sideline?
It's been super inspiring, you know what I mean? Just seeing him, like, all the time, just smiling, just still in good spirits. Like, it's like the best feeling ever.
You see him happy, you see him engaged. You know, we get to, you know, clown around with him, you know, keep him involved.
I think as we've seen Ryan progress, it's really motivated all of us to kind of play for Ryan.
Big Ben, his 14th season. During the summer, talk was that he was considering retirement.
With what you have in front of you, this offensive line, this group of weapons, there's a lot more football left in Ben Roethlisberger. Is there not?
I think so, but nothing more important than this week. I know you know me and you've had me, and you can try and get me to say all I want about playing next year, but if I'm going to tell you that I'm playing next year, looking forward to next year, then that means I'm not, that my game's over. This is the biggest game of the season for us, and that's all my focus is.
And, you know, JB, when you think about this football team, they are battle-tested and hardened. Because you talk about a 13-3 season, but when you look back upon it, you're talking about a Week 5 loss, low point against Jacksonville. 8 straight wins, 3 of them walk-off of field goals. A last-play loss to the New England Patriots. But you know what? The one thing, the Ryan Shazier injury really put a lot of things in perspective. And, you know, he's been a tremendous source of motivation for this football team. And I went to practice this past week and had a chance to speak with him on Thursday. And, you know, and you can see him engage with his players. And I would just say this about Ryan Shazier. His spirits have never been higher, and the recovery is going very, very well.
And that recovery, those spirits are impacting the Steelers as they get set for the game. We are just minutes away. The rematch that Pittsburgh is looking forward to, taking on Jacksonville. And, Coach, as you always say, the field is in good shape.
It sure is, JB.
A few more TD celebrations, and the Killer Bees will need to save some moves for a Super Sunday. Next, the playoff picture is coming together. Watch it unfold. With a group of youngins this wild, it's always sunny in Saxonville. Get it? Power, the playoff picture is coming together. Watch it unfold.
NFL Today on CBS Sports is presented by Southwest Airlines. Low fares, no hidden fees. That's transparency.
Steelers fans are toting their terrible towels and counting down his kickoff just a few minutes away at Heinz Field. That's where the Jags and the Steelers will play for the right to advance to the AFC Championship game. And that takes us now to the NFL Today Insight Center presented by IBM. Now, if the Steelers plan on advancing to play the Patriots, they're going to need a balanced performance from their offense, because when Big Ben throws for more than 275 yards in a game, the Steelers are an abysmal 0-5. And even worse, when he has 34 or more passing attempts, they're 0-6. Did you have an impact on that, keeping it on the ground?
I think I did. Yes.
And with that, three of our guys actually picked the Steelers to go on here as we take a look at the Jags. So now, Nate, you actually are going with the Jags.
Well, listen, here's the beauty of live TV. During the commercial break, I changed my mind. I was going with the Steelers.
During the commercial break.
I don't know if I'm feeling like Boomer Esiason. I just want TV time, but I feel like that I'm falling in love with the fact that these guys don't know what they don't know. I get it. If you look at it on paper, the Pittsburgh Steelers, they are the better team. But if you look at it in reality and what happened earlier this season, that wasn't an anomaly. That wasn't an outlier game. That was who the Jaguars are, and I feel like they're going to bring that same type of pressure. And I'm not confident that Antonio Brown coming back is going to be 100%.
You know, I'm going to say this. When you think about the first game, the one thing that you need to look at is the red zone, because Pittsburgh got down there early 3 times, had us over for 3 field goals. So when you look at a game like this with defenses, look at situational football.
Yeah.
The ability to finish drives with touchdowns, not field goals, and winning the third down battle, because extending drives and converting third downs, situational football will be a big key in the outcome of this game.
Yeah, you know what I like? You see the players in the tunnels, and even for you, Bill, when you coach, what a great moment. Right. I mean, emotionally, it doesn't matter if you're home or away, running down that field, man, it sends your spine tingles. There's no question. It's a great moment. When I look at the game today, can Pittsburgh run the ball well enough? Those stats that we put up there earlier, they are kind of true. They don't lie. Because if you throw the football too much against this Jacksonville defense, you are looking for big trouble from 2 areas. Pass rush and these corners, you throw at them enough, they're going to find a way to get an interception.
You know, guys, one thing we haven't talked about, since Ben Roethlisberger was drafted back in 2004, there are 2 teams that have gone into Heinz Field and have a winning record. One, of course, is the Patriots, who the Steelers basically are obsessed with, and 2 is the Jacksonville Jaguars. The Jaguars are 4-1 at Heinz Field since Ben Roethlisberger took over as quarterback, and that includes playoffs. So I'm kind of with Nate. I know the game's going to be close. It's going to be tight. It's going to be everything that we as true football fans love. It is going to be physical, and there is nothing like when the home field team is out on that field in front of those terrible towels. Coach, you've been standing on that sideline. I have broadcast games here like this. This is going to be a physical, nasty, and just an intense football.
You know, being able to harness your emotions early in this game is very, very important. I always said before, you know, let the game come to you. Don't take it and try to force something too early. Because harnessing the emotions early, you know, getting past that first wave of energy that you're going to have when you get on that field is going to be very important, because a lot of times the nerves can make you throw on first down. Give them a chance to be successful with your Jacksonville, because if there's ever a time you don't want to get in must-throw situations.
Coaches, do the job. Let these players get into the game. Call the right plays on both sides of the football so they get in the flow. They don't make a mistake. And what I like about this, Boomer, we got 2 very emotional football teams.
Hey, as we look at the pomp and circumstance, again, you guys have all been there. Just give us a sense of what that's like, and you get prepared to execute with all the things you guys are talking about.
JB, I remember being a young guy and the hair standing up on my arm and hearing nothing but noise, and I could not focus, and I didn't really have a good grasp on what was going on. And then 10 years later, I was in the playoffs as a 30-year-old, and I heard everything inside my helmet. I had to shut out all the noise. So my advice to these young guys, they're in the biggest moment of their lives, look at the vets and follow their lead.
And JB, we played 1988 back in the jungle. It was known as Riverfront Stadium because our fans were so into it.
There they are.
We knew that we could not be beat in that building that year.
And there's the 2 of them, Antonio Brown and last being Ben. Be patient.
Game time, folks. Jags and Steelers are coming up next here. It's the AFC Divisional playoff game. Buckle your seatbelts. We'll see you back here at halftime. Enjoy the first half, everyone.